Melbourne's outer sprawl just keeps on sprawling. And there's one distinct group increasingly seeking out the Australian dream in the outer suburbs.
Our dream was having a good house where we can a good nurturing to our kids with good education. So we are able to deliver all of that and able to do that as of now. So I think the dream is that. So have a beautiful home for yourself. Prajan, time to wake up. Good morning.
Ruchira Gupta and her husband Devados moved to Australia from India a decade ago.
Prajan, you want to have pancakes in the morning?
They've settled in Lyndhurst, 30 kilometres southeast of Melbourne CBD.
We like the schools just being there, the station being very close to the house, and also the strong sense of our community. So we had a lot of Indians, Sri Lankans.
3 doors down live their neighbours and friends, Gobinath Devendran and his wife Bruntha, Sri Lankans who grew up in India.
We get together, we have barbecues or something like, we can catch up, and we have a playground over there where we play cricket with my kids. So it's kind of like probably the best place I could imagine. Open the door.
The couple own a pizza franchise and bought in this new estate 5 years ago. Like many from their community, they're prepared to move far from the city to have more space.
So I think if we go down in the suburbs, and that probably won't have much of an option of having a bigger block. And when you go out of town a little bit, you might can invest on a bigger block and can build your dream home a little bit.
These days, Victoria's typical migrant is from India, and in most of Melbourne's outer suburbs, Indians now form the largest group of recent arrivals.
Within the Indian community, a number of which have come as overseas students and then stayed on in Australia, got permanent residency, they're now trying to start families and settle their life in Australia.
Far on the other side of Melbourne, Ronald Mushtaq is busy selling 1,000 homes on a brand new development.
Look, I would say at least 50% of people would be moving in here would be from the subcontinent.
What's the appeal?
Location would be one, affordability, availability is another one, and generally they like to live in communities, and northern suburbs have quite a large community of people from subcontinent as well.
Houses on this estate start from around $500,000, significantly cheaper than the Melbourne median of $820,000. But while they might be able to buy a house, this generation of migrants is facing more economic challenges than the waves who came before.
Because our manufacturing industry has been hollowed out, there are many less jobs. Manufacturing was a wonderful way for many migrants from the Italian, Greek, other areas to get a foot in, to move into the middle class. That's hollowed out. So therefore, we actually have greater stress in terms of finding jobs that are well paid, meaningful.
Demographer David McCluskey has just finished some new research into Melbourne's changing ethnic and social groups. He says as well as the struggle to find a decent job, migrants moving to outer growth corridors risk isolation because services and infrastructure like schools and public transport aren't keeping up.
Unless the infrastructure is actually put in place within 4 years of people to moving to an area, then they're not likely to actually form the community bonds. And it's really a critical element for integration, cohesiveness, and giving people the best life opportunity.
Amanda Stapleton is the Mayor of KC in Melbourne's outer southeast. It's one of the fastest growing regions in Australia with lots of new housing estates.
I think the development of the estates has really created its own connectedness, which I think is fantastic. But I think there is a level of isolation. Some people don't drive or they don't have a car. How do those people get from A to B, especially in our new estates?
But for families like the Gobinaths who have steady income from their own business as well as Bruntha's part-time job as a childcare worker, Melbourne's outer suburbs feel like heaven. It's not just the abundance of Indian shops and temples, but the chance of an old-fashioned Australian childhood for her kids.
In the evening, we just hang out at the park, and kids from my neighbours would come in and they all have a bike ride. And that's the good thing about here. I wanted them to play outside more, get to play in sand or dirt, and they can go into my neighbour's house and play for some time.
Are we all set for school?
Yeah.
And while Ruchira Gupta loves having an Indian community close by, she says it's the diversity of Melbourne's outer suburbs that will anchor her kids to this country.
Oh yes, they love it. So they are, again, there, if I look at, he's in prep, so the kind of group that he has as friends, it's a mix of subcontinent, Australians, Greeks, it's all friends together there. So it's beautiful to see them growing in a diverse community.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.